Thank you, officers. This council meeting is being streamed live, recorded and published in accordance with council's live streaming in council meetings policy. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the council, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. Anyone who is invited to read out a question or a presentation will be recorded, and their voice, image and comments will form part of the live stream and recording. The Chair and or the CEO have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be the subject of legal action if their actions results in inappropriate and or unacceptable behaviour and or comments. Today's meeting is being streamed live as well as recorded and published on Council's website. Thank you. Please ensure that mobile phones remain off during the Council meeting. Please stand for the opening prayer. We pray to God to guide us so that the thoughts we have and the decisions made this day are in the best interest of the people of the South Gippsland Shire. Amen. The South Gippsland Shire Council respectively acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land, elders past and present, their spirits and ancestors. Please be seated. Are there any apologies today? No. Confirmation of minutes. Do we have a mover for the motion? Councillor Skinner. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Rich. Is there anyone against? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Declaration of conflicts of interest for councillors. Councillors, are there any conflicts of interest? Councillor Skinner?
I have a conflict of interest on the confidential meeting item 14.1.
14.1. Councillor Argento.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I have a similar conflict of interest in item 14.1.
Thank you. Declarations of conflicts of interest for staff. Mr CEO, are there any staff conflicts of interest?
There are nil conflicts of interest, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. We move to section 4. 4.1, grant application of Leongatha Business Precinct Redevelopment Project, Bear Street Landscapes. So I have a mover. Councillor Fawcett and seconder, Councillor Rich. Is there anyone against? No. Councillor Rich. Sorry, Councillor Fawcett.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, this just continues a priority project for Council and facilitates the seeking of a grant to further proceed that. I think it's self-explanatory and I'm committed to other councils.
Councillor Rich.
Thank you very much. I actually think this is a very important project for our region. Regional Victoria does need to reinvent itself to attract what is now becoming a greater emphasis on tourism and regional projects. So I'm hoping that this project, and that we are successful in it, that we are able to attract this type of grant money to be able to give our environment and our people from the region and attract external people. So I wholeheartedly ask all councils to support this, and hopefully we can keep working together to secure this and further grants in this area in the future.
Any other speakers? No other speakers? Sorry, Councillor Smith.
I just wanted to mention a couple of things. This grant application, this project, as Councillor Fawcett said, has been on our radar for a while, and it is what is called shovel ready. There was an opportunity for to apply through the Building Better Regions Fund, an Australian federal government fund, which hasn't been open to us before. So I would like to commend our grants officer, Penny Ellicott, for her work in getting this up and running, and to note that the application was submitted on the 15th of November, and that this will be a really exciting project for Leongatha, and will revitalise the Bear Street project. So, precinct. So, thank you.
Any other speakers? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. 4.2, grant application, Venus Bay Emergency Management Training Exercise. Do I have a mover? Councillor Argento, and the seconder, Councillor Skinner. Is there anybody against?
Can I
No, sorry.
procedurally point of order, please?
Yes.
You asked for the against speaker after the mover and the seconder, as they have an opportunity to speak, and then you ask for someone against. That's just a little. That's procedurally that's correct, Councillor.
That's what your script, that's what's been going on. So we have to go back and have a look.
No, it's in the local law. Thank you.
Okay, good. I would take Councillor Brunt's word on the matter, as I know she's well read on the local law, but I will, in the meantime, check.
I'll hold that in a moment. Councillor Argento, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This grant application and willingness to conduct this exercise at Venus Bay is probably prudent, given that we're about to draw on the 10th anniversary of Black Saturday. And it's important that we conduct these types of exercises just so people are aware of what could occur and we don't become complacent in our communities in regard to the disastrous day nearly 10 years ago that occurred. So this application, together with Safe Together Grants program for the development of an emergency management training exercise, was submitted back in October, 29th of October 2018. It will involve multiple stakeholders in this exercise, and as I said, Venus Bay is a chosen location. It will involve the Bass Coast Council as well, which have also come on board with contributing $2,500 towards the training exercise. It'll probably be one of our largest scale exercises that this Shire has probably conducted. So my congratulations to the staff who are working on this project and their chosen location, which is in one of our high risk areas, to ensure that we become ready and not too complacent about the risks that fire has in within our Shire. So I'd ask councillors to endorse this application. There is a cost for $50,000, and the grants that will follow as well to be included. So yeah, I would ask councillors to endorse this recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Skinner.
Thank you. This is a really important project. It's great to see Bass Coast and South Gippsland working together on this. My understanding is this came actually from the local community and concerns from the CFA and the emergency management organisations in that area that brought it up through the Municipal Emergency Management Planning Committee as an issue, and the municipal fire. The other one, acronym I can't quite remember, FMPC. So the learnings from this won't only apply to Venus Bay, and I think Councillor Argento said it really well. I think all of our communities and our individuals can become quite complacent, and you know, each season we prepared and then nothing happens and we put our fire things away, and so I think this will be really an interesting exercise, and the learnings from that will be able to be applied to all of our areas whilst it is being conducted in Venus Bay as a identified high fire risk area. I think it's a really great, very economical as well, having our grant for $50,000 and ourselves putting in $2.5 and Bass Coast putting in $2.5 is a very worthwhile exercise to undertake. So I would urge us to support this motion as well. Thank you.
Any other speakers, Councillor Rich?
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. It's very prudent timing. So, as I understand it, Queensland currently is facing 80 fires that I think one of the worst events that they've ever had in history. We in South Gippsland have been very fortunate to have good rainfall over our springtime, so the growth in our region is particularly verdant, and we have a forecast for a dry summer. So all of these conditions are an absolute recipe for a potential event to happen. So it's great to see that we are working on a community and organisational level, but I also would like to take this opportunity to tell all farmers, every one of us this summer I think needs to be ready for the fire season that's about to come up. I know I need to get to our farm, our tanks and our firefighting equipment together, so it's really good to see that we're doing this all across our community at this point in time.
Councillor Cousin?
Thank you. I rise to support the proposal. I do note that in the report, and thank Councillor Skinner for saying that this is going to give us a much broader understanding across the whole of the Shire. I note in the report, the officer's report, that there are no designated emergency relief centres or neighbourhood safer places of last resort in Venus Bay. I trust that a major outcome from this project will actually be to help us to identify the most appropriate places, please. Thank you.
Any further speakers? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. 4.3, endorse proposed road name change for 2 roads in Coimbra, part Mears Court and part Little Princess Street. Do I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Brunt. And the seconder, Councillor McEwen. Councillor Brunt.
With the building of the Carmi Centre in Carambara, cut Little Princess Street in half. So because of the road going into the Carmi Centre, so now we've got 2 roads with the same name that isn't connected. So this is about renaming those roads. The consultation has been done, I believe, and it was certainly with one of them, Stagg, Arthur Gerard Stagg. Once you asked the Historical Society to give a name, give Arthur Gerard Stagg. So the Gerard and Stagg were, one obviously was a nickname, and Stagg seemed to get the nod here. He is remembered at Coal Creek Park and Museum. It says buried there with a memorial that tells his story, so I think it's very fitting that if that's the case, that he was, I believe, in the mid-1800s, a very integral member of the working community in Carambara. So yes, I fully support this. I believe the consultation's done and the people are happy with this to be given those names. Thank you. I'll ask you for your support, councillors.
Thank you. Councillor McEwen.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it's a procedural motion.
Anyone against? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. 4.4, award contract Con 189 Coomera Landfill Construction of Cell 3 Cap. Do we have a mover of the motion? Councillor Brunt. Seconder, Councillor McEwen. Councillor Brunt.
Thank you. This motion is asking the council increase their budget, and that they've had a current budget allocation of $709,000, and is to increase it by $116,000, and that's after the contractor has given, obviously, been awarded a price. Well, once we pass this today, it'll award, and it's to cap the third cell, and it just shows you how much waste costs, and then right through to being legislated with a lot of requirements to how we bury waste. This is now quite expensive, but I think we do. This is about a rehabilitation of Cell 3. All legislated, I believe that we don't have any other option but to accept this, but we need to maybe in the future join the ranks of zero waste. a bit of a program to reduce our waste, and I was really proud of myself the other day. I went shopping and come home with one plastic bag, and I thought, well, that was a really good effort to what I used to come home with, but now that I think about it. Thank you.
Councillor McKinnon.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, very briefly, waste does cost around $150 a tonne in the all-up cost, so anything we can do to minimise waste saves money. Airspace in that waste depot is a really premium commodity. The interesting thing to note here is that this is really a procedural issue, but what we're getting is a significant rise in costs for construction due to the level of work that's occurring in Melbourne. So the infrastructure spending, which might be nice for Melbourne, has actually got a flow-on effect of raising prices locally. But I think that this is essential. We have to do it. If we don't do it, we'll get caught up in a complicated process with EPA. Thank you.
Is there anyone against? Are there any other speakers? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. 4.5, Long Jetty and Yanaki Caravan Parks, Summary of Operations Report, year ending 30th of June 2018. Do I have a mover? Councillor Argento. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Skinner. Councillor Argento.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the long-awaited Long Jetty and Yanaki Caravan Park financial reports. That's a recommendation that Council receives the Yanaki and Long Jetty Caravan Park Summary of Operations Report. It's been a number of years since Council's taken over the caravan parks. Amidst a bit of controversy at the time. The Council has been working towards ensuring that these caravan parks meet compliance, and this is on our way to looking for a report next June, to receive a report next June at the ordinary Council meeting, which will review the direct management model and evaluate third-party management models as well. So slowly progressing there, but a lot of work has been done in the 2 years to ensure that they reach that compliance. Which is something that desperately need doing. Thank you.
Councillor Skinner.
Thank you. Just a further point on the recommendation that part of that is to rescind a previous decision of Council a year ago to establish a caravan and camping park committee on which all councillors are held a place. And so we did have that committee and we did have a number of meetings on which all councillors were able to participate. It's felt that it's an area of interest for the public. We need to be open and transparent about it, and a better way forward is, I think, to have these discussions in open council and working towards looking at options for the third-party management model or direct management, and aiming for a report by June. So part of the recommendation is to rescind that previous decision, which I'm happy to do, as all councillors were involved in that council today as well. Thank you.
Is there anybody against? Any other speakers? I'll move it to a vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Section 5.1, Revocation Instruments of Appointment and Authorisation, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Do I have a mover?
I'll make it.
Councillor Cousin. And the seconder, Councillor Bruns. Councillor Cousin.
This is a procedural matter. This is a procedural matter. I just recommend that we move to a motion. It's standard procedure.
Councillor Bruns.
This is just really, we give authorisation to people in the organisation to act on things, and we've had a couple of resignations and they've been replaced, so that's about all that is. So I'm happy to put it to the vote if everyone else is.
Is there anybody against? I'll put it to vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. 5.2, long-term financial strategies.
I'll have that way.
Councillor McEwen, and we'll have a seconder. Councillor Skinner. Councillor McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a good story for council. We were in a very difficult financial position in 2003, and with the assistance of one of our former officers, Mr. Lovis, we developed a long-term financial plan strategy. We were years ahead of most councils, because most councils had a 3-year plan. We had a longer-term plan that looked at what was happening. We built in principles in the plan to make sure that we renewed our asset, that we were financially stable and secure, that we were self-financing, that we paid down our indebtedness. We have done that and we've achieved that. The really good part of that process and having that discipline over that period of time is we're now in a situation where we're one of the few councils with almost 100% asset renewal funded, which is fantastic. But on top of that, we've also, through our social infrastructure plan and our long-term capital works plan, provided for needed additional infrastructure to maintain the standards that are required. It is important that these base things are done because this provides our council with the basis of being able to promote the area, to promote the infrastructure development, like the Bear Street development we're talking about, like Block that's been done shortly, like Foster has been done. These are strategic investments that can only occur if we've been financially prudent, and it's taken us, I think, 15 years to get there, but we're on very solid footing, and I would commit the motion to you.
Councillor Skinner.
Just really briefly to add to what Councillor McEwen said, it was in response, in 2003, 2002, 2003, that council faced some significant challenges financially, and over that time, through the development of the long-term financial strategy, it's a high-level document guiding our financial resources. Things like operating losses and high debt in 2003, the global financial crisis in 2008, 3 calls on unfunded superannuation in 2003, 2010, 2013. Government freezing the level of financial assistance to local government for 3 years, and the rate capping environment. So to be in a really sound financial position that we find ourselves in, very little debt, and as Councillor John said, able to fund our asset renewal and undertake the services and programs that we do, is a really significant achievement, and many thanks to the finance team who put this together. Every time we look at budgets, we refer to the long-term financial strategy and look at the health of what the decisions we're making based on that. So I'd recommend that we adopt this recommendation. Thank you.
Is there anybody against? Any further speakers? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. I have one query of the CEO in relation to 4.3. Pass over to the CEO.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just for record keeping, things are moving along so well. Councillor Brunt, in moving the item regarding the renaming, if I could just ask you to go back to item 4.3, endorse proposed road name change from 2 roads in Carambara, part Mayor Court and part Little Princess Street. In the recommendation, part A says determine the road known as Mayor Crescent heading southwest bound off Princess Street, Carambara, Section 1 to be renamed to one of the following proposals. The majority of surveys returned were in favour of Stag. We just wanted to confirm that it was Stag that you were speaking in favour of. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I was, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to 5.3. Policy amendment, you read out please. Policy amendment, public participation in meetings with Council Policy C65. Moved by Councillor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Rich. Councillor McEwen.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Our council plan makes a strong commitment for transparency and openness. Unfortunately, we curtailed open question time previously, and what that has done, in my view, has made the council less open. At the time, there was some concern about the appropriateness of some behaviours and questions. I've only actually seen one or two instances where there's been a problem. But this is an important principle. Ordinary citizens should have the right to be able to come in to a council meeting and as the motion is read, within the first 15 minutes, put a question in and hear an answer either at that meeting or if it's more complex at a future meeting. This, I think, is start of the process of restoring confidence and trust in council. We have to not only talk about being open, we have to back that up with actually policies and procedures that will allow it. I believe that this is a step forward, and I think this is a down payment on restoring our trust and confidence in council. Thank you.
Councillor Rich.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. This is my first term in public office, and I have spent a long time studying democracy, and this is a key aspect of democracy, and that was one disappointment that I felt as though was put through when we came in the past, that we somehow were trying to be more transparent and open, and through the mechanisms one way or another we found ourselves in a circumstance where that wasn't the case. So I hope that this is a step back towards allowing our community to see exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it. Yes, of course, there's circumstances with which you can't be transparent and open about everything due to confidentiality of business and whatnot, but for the main part, we need to be able to show our community and allow our community to have a look and ask questions of what we're doing and why within ratepayers' money in this region. So I applaud my fellow councillors to support this particular motion to start restoring that balance.
Is there anybody against? Are there any other speakers? I'll put this to vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. We now move to section 8, procedural reports.
I believe, Councillor, that we might have looked at putting 8.1, 8.2 and 8.3 in block.
Would you move that?
You can ask the other councillors if they agree.
You need to move it.
And I'll move that.
Right, seconder. So Councillor Brunt and seconded by Councillor Rich to move 8.1, 8.2 and 8.3 in block. Anyone against? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? To put it in.
Oh, no, you don't have to.
You
don't have to vote on it. That goes with block.
I know he's asked us to move the whole lot. Moving the lot. So they've got to ask you to address first and speak.
Yeah, he can accept that it's moved in block, but then he can give me as the mover the right to speak.
Sorry,
Sorry. Sorry, Councillor. We have the Assembly of Councillors, the councillor expenditure report, and I believe it was about 8,000 above budget, but that was because of the way the last payment was done to councillors. It was sort of come in the budget period before. So I think we're actually tracking quite well. And the other one is the Assembly of Councillors. It's all self-explanatory in there. And then there's the documents sealed and awarded by the CEO, who under delegation can do up to 250,000. So I'm quite happy to put this to the vote. Thank you.
Councillor Rich. Any other speakers? I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Section 9.1, request for leave of absence. Councillors, are there any requests for leave of absence? No. Council updates. Councillors, are there any councillor updates? Councillor Rich.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I attended the SEEDS conference in Wollongong earlier on this month. It was a particularly interesting meeting because Wollongong University was given a large amount of funds after Kevin Rudd was elected into power, and they look at smart innovation and technology. When we start to have a look at the changes that are going to come towards our regional areas, I think that we're going to see over the next 25 years some game-changing changes in the way our community structure works. These particular centres, we're looking at transport, but transport integrates into freight, public transport, movement of people, growth corridors. You start to see the integration when technologies, instead of keeping them separate, start working together. The synergies that you will start to see are quite extraordinary. This particular facility shows that they can now, with cameras, it's quite extraordinary, work out the movement of people to be able to distribute a public transport system so that off your current asset base, you can get a much greater return. Also driverless cars, which I think is going to be a massive impact on our society. They believe within 15 years we'll have the technology, but it will take it 25 years to get the political and legal frameworks for that to happen. Now, this is what the current experts and RTA, ICROs, all the different governments are saying will happen. If that is the case, in 25 years, we are within 2.5 hours of Melbourne and we will have a fully autonomous car that enables you to get from A to B, which will change services for elderly, children. The whole game of a regional area will change. We need to start thinking of the application and the implications of this in terms of our communities. We will no longer have a situation where if you're an elderly person living in a township or in a smaller regional area, you will be able to get to your appointment. A child will be able to go to the beach because he won't need to have a licence anymore. So this is, 25 years is not particularly, in my lifetime to see that, in our lifetimes to see that will be an extraordinary change. So it's, I applaud the conference and the information we've got, and we need to start integrating some of that technology into our planning and forward thinking within Council. Thank you very much.
Councillor McEwen.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. There's more things that I'm going to get scared about in the future. Thank you, Councillor Rich. But just a quick mention of 3 things. One is that the Million Art Gallery ran a very successful grand design architecture tour looking at some of the quality houses. We had about 70 people on it, and I think there's $3,000 or $4,000 that's been raised towards running the community art gallery in Meenian. The second one, which is a bit of a version, but I think it's pretty close to full now, Opera Australia is running an event in Meenian, which is run through the Meenian Men's Committee on Friday the 7th, and there's a soiree at the art gallery before if people are interested in. But one thing I'd like to do is congratulate some of the engineering staff, and I'd like that to be conveyed back to them. Mr Seabrook, the work on the Lock streetscape has been exemplary. The 2 officers involved have consulted thoroughly, 3 officers involved have consulted thoroughly on it. There's been some amendments and adjustments to the plan. The critical thing that the community was concerned about was that in doing the footpaths and the curbing and guttering in there, we don't destroy the charm of the area. We had a very successful meeting last Friday with about 20 to 30 local residents and business people there. Everyone was extremely happy, and I think it's to the credit of the engineering staff that they have now got, in my opinion, some of the best consultation approaches. They've certainly had the same effect in me when they did work, so if you could convey my congratulations. Thank you.
Councillor Singer.
Thank you. I've actually got a long list. Been a busy month. I attended the West Gippsland Regional Library Corporation meeting in Cowes. It was open to the public, and there was some people there who were very concerned about the transition out of the mobile library service in the Bass Coast area. So the Southern Mobile service is being withdrawn and by June next year, and that affects our area, particularly our coastal area as well. But it is also a really exciting opportunity to look at community partnerships and looking at better ways to deliver library services in collaboration with the community. I had the pleasure of judging the costumes at Halloween at Coal Creek. And I just have to say what an amazing job the team of Coal Creek and all of the volunteers do to undertake that evening. It was astounding. So hats off to all those people, and everyone came dressed up, which was fantastic. I attended a Understanding Social Enterprise workshop. It was a 2-day workshop with Councillor McEwen. Was only able to attend one day, and that was run by the Australian Centre of Rural Entrepreneurship and supported by Rural Councils Victoria. And so our Shire was able to offer the first part of a workshop to understand social enterprise and to look at ways of innovation and enterprise, particularly as our job market is changing and our young people will have to be creating their own jobs. So it's really exciting. It's sort of the first step into that. A couple of different meetings at Sandy Point. Community down there. I had the pleasure of opening the Leongatha art show, and it was fantastic to see on a Saturday afternoon. Leongatha was buzzing actually. It also coincided with the Rose Show, so I spoke to a young girl today. I think we raised $7,000 at that art exhibition, which is fantastic. So the Stockyard Gallery meeting I've been to, but the most exciting thing that I've done was had the great pleasure of opening the show for Camp Bravo last week, which was held right here in Memorial Hall, and it was a inaugural program that the Shire helped to support the funding application to Regional Arts Victoria for Ellie Paletti, who's a passionate local musician, to work with the kids from the primary and secondary schools in Leongatha, 5 schools, over 3 days, 145 kids, and they were out in the streets. So they were doing, in location, so they were doing sort of marimba down there, they were doing singing in the streets, they were doing drumming, and it was such an exciting thing to see. People were saying to me, oh God, Leongatha's buzzing. It was great to see Leongatha really coming alive, but I guess the most important thing for me that night, and Miss lovely Natasha Berry was there as a helper as well, every single person's child's face was glowing. They loved it. It was part of creative enterprise together. They were amazing. I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. It was amazing. So congratulations to the Camp Bravo team. So, thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you. I attended as Mayor a business election luncheon in Traralgon, and that was sort of showing the support. There's a lot of different businesses there that Danny O'Brien may be able to be, as he was duly elected, on which I congratulate him on. He follows through with supporting those businesses. I attended a night in the Poowong Hall. Lyric Theatre came to us for a bit of a comic night. It was a great night, and I think that that if you get the opportunity, when Lyric Theatre may even go around to other halls, definitely go. It was a fantastic night. Great company. And of course, Councillor Jimmy's Rich and Councillor McEwen, myself and Councillor Brown attended the meeting at the borough in Currumborough. Fantastic meeting, and what it did, it actually showed a connection of the community. More than anything, it was a community that got a chance to speak to one another, to talk to one another. And when I walked in there, I thought, my goodness me, this is a bit loud, but that was the people talking. So that was the connection that people had. So that was a fantastic night. Councillor Brown and myself attended a 2-course meal at St Paul's that they're putting on there. It's a community meal, and I believe they're doing it again next, maybe a week or so. And that was a wonderful night for all those volunteers to cook a meal for people, and it was just that general, anyone in the community could pop along and have a meal. So what they done was superb, and a great thank you to those volunteers that that did all that cooking. I felt a little guilty actually sitting there, but it was a wonderful night. Once again, it's just that connection in the community for each and every one of us, no matter who we are. Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Councillor Brunt's already mentioned 2 events that I got to go to, but the Celebrate Curran Borough event at the Borough. That was a great night, and there's a lot of exciting things happening in Curran Borough. It's just good to see so many people in that community getting together and being able to pull off an event like that. And it was also great to have the local Member of Parliament there supporting that event. The community meal, apparently that's been a long time in the making, and the Anglican Church at Baggy, with the help of other churches there, they've been doing that for many, many years, and that's been a very successful event. So I'm hoping that the one at Curran Borough will end up being the same. So, yeah, again, that was a great community event. Thank you.
Councillor Cousin.
Thank you, Mayor Hill. I had the very great pleasure over the weekend of meeting members of the Dumbulk Progress Association, and a charming group of people, more charming group of people I have not met. They shared with me many ideas about problems, niggly things that they have in Dumbulk, which I'm sure Council can look at some stage. But they were also immensely proud of the way Minion is growing and punching above its weight, as they say. They're also full of ideas about how to improve Leongatha, so I look forward in our consultations with the Leongatha revitalisation plan to not only look at the Leongatha community but also much more broadly. I also had the pleasure on Monday evening of attending the Northern District Community Foundation annual general meeting. And I have to say again, another proud and very active group of people I have not met before. The foundation, as you would know, was established from the sale of Bush Nursing Hospital and also aged care facilities that were community owned. And instead of squandering those funds in largesse in a very short period of time, through the good counsel of people such as Mr. Norman Walker, who is retiring and now going to be moving from the district, the fund has moved into high profitability. There is $8 million dollars in the coffers. Pounds, that's good, that'll be even better. And they annually donate to a whole range of incredible programs and activities across the region. Now the district is one that spreads across Baw Shire, Latrobe Valley and ourselves. So it is not just Moorabool District embraces a much bigger area, and I have to say that it is part of the vibrancy of the community in that area that it spreads so widely and has been so successful and will continue to be so. Thank you.
Councillor Tinto.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Amongst a number of events that I attended, one that stands out is the Welsh Pool District Horticultural Society show, which I had the privilege of opening on November the 2nd. Amongst the fantastic floral display that was at the show, what sort of draws my attention is the fact that the numerous amount of volunteers that contributed to hosting that event. And we see that right across our shire in the events that are held by our communities. Volunteers who put their hands up because they want their towns to stand out and they want something a bit different, or they want everybody to say, come and have a look at us. They do a fantastic job, and I commend the society for the work they did on that particular day. Well done.
Councillor Fawcett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's early days for me, so nothing exciting. Just re-establishing links with a whole variety of groups, and attended the AGM of the Leongatha District Community Foundation, which would love to say Councillor Cummins would have had 8 million in the bank.
Thank you. Urgent item, councillors. Urgent or other business. Mr. CEO, is there any urgent or other business in today's agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there are 2 items for urgent business, which we'll ask if we can.
I'm just going to no committee updates, isn't it?
Yeah, no committee updates. Yeah, there was no committee updates, was it, Mr. Mayor? Yeah, correct. Thank you, Natasha. No committee updates. And 2 items for urgent business.
Do one at a time.
Yes, we will. So item 10.1. The council consider item 14.4, matter which the council considers would prejudice the council and others as an urgent confidential item in section 14, closed session, pursuant to section 89(2)H, matter which the council considers would prejudice the council and others of the Local Government Act 1989, the Act to meet requirements of a previous council resolution.
Do we have a mover for this one? Councillor Skinner, and a seconder, Councillor Fawcett. Councillor Skinner.
Happy to go straight to the vote, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Fawcett.
No, just note it's a proceed, Commissioner.
Okay, I'll move straight to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next matter is recommending to consider as an urgent confidential item.
Excuse me, Mr. CEO,
Yes.
Mr. Lady, can you indulge me in 1 minute? Thank you. And the clock is counting.
Just getting the text off. Just catching up with the paperwork. Or the, then we do the questions. Thank you for your patience, everybody. In the section 10, urgent or other business, we have item 10.2 for council's consideration, a contractual matter. The recommendation to consider as an urgent confidential item. The council considers item 14.5, contractual matter, as an urgent confidential item in section 14, closed session, on the grounds that the matter relates to a contractual matter pursuant to section 89(2)D of the Local Government Act 1989, in order to make the decision that is required for the next ordinary meeting of council.
Got a mover for this motion. Councillor Argento. And a seconder for this motion, Councillor Skinner. Councillor Argento.
Yes, once again, as previously. Once again, as previously, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Skinner.
Happy to go straight to the
Okay, any opposition? I'll move this to the vote. All those in favour?
Excuse me,
Mr. Mayor.
just
Call the vote.
Just a procedural matter.
Before I vote on it.
Call the vote.
Yeah, I can't vote on that.
What's the problem?
14.5, 14.3.
There's other matters in the closed session. And yeah,
It's okay.
that's
We'll
okay.
do that one under control.
Yeah.
All those in favour? Unanimous. Next, councillors. Thank you. Next session is public questions. 11.1, petitions and joint letters. Mr. CEO, is there any petitions in today's agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
11.2, answers to previous questions of notice.
No, there's no questions taken on notice at the last council meeting, Mr Mayor.
11.3, submitted public questions. Mr CEO, is there any submitted public questions?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I have questions from Mr Blau. I believe, Mr Blau, if you could please raise your hand to indicate your presence in the gallery. Thank you very much. As Mr Blau is in the gallery, I will read the questions out in accordance with council's policy. Question 1. I better turn my microphone on. There we go. Sorry about that. Question 1. Why are the total employee costs not provided here as in previous years? The answer to question 1 is the total employee costs that relate to the 2017-18 are included in the financial report. However, there have been some changes to disclosure requirements, which is why the reporting has changed from last year. I will expand on this when I address question 2 and 3. I will address question 2 and 3 together as they are similar in nature. But first, question 2 reads, why are the employee costs transferred to other areas, such as capital expenditure, not provided here as in previous years? And question 3, why is the reason for not providing these employee costs to ratepayers and residents? So the answer to question 2 and 3 is as follows. South Gippsland Shire Council's financial report was prepared in accordance with the Local Government Model Financial Report. According to the Local Government Model Financial Report Better Practice Guide 2017-18. Consistent with the structure of the financial statements at other levels of government, substantial changes have been made this year to the sequence and structure of the notes of the Local Government Management Financial Report. These changes aim to streamline the Local Government Management Financial Report. The disclosures relating to employee costs in note 3.1 on page 18 of the financial report are in accordance with the accounting standards and are consistent with those in the Local Government Management Financial Report, with the aim of streamlining and simplifying disclosures made. The main changes impact the employee cost disclosures is to combine certain categories of expenses, for example, wages and salaries, casual staff, and annual and long service leave were separately disclosed in 2017, however, have been combined in 2018, and the removal of disclosures of capital employee costs. Capitalised employee costs are not an operational expense in the current year and are instead recognised in future years when the capitalised project is recognised. That concludes the response to the questions, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Moving to section 12, closed session. Do we have a move to move into closed session? Councillor Brunt. Seconder, Councillor Argento.
Closed.
No, yeah. Once it's voted on.
Yeah. So I'll take that straight to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor McEwen, councillors? Councillor Rich? That's unanimous. Meeting is closed. I now declare the open meeting closed and will adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes to clear the room. Councillors, please be back here in 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm sorry.